We stopped for coffee at Postie's Trading Post yesterday on our way from Tok, and they had fox paws available for purchase, which Justin was quick to jump on. So I'm not a huge fan for a couple of reasons, but Justin now has a fox paw that connects to his bag, and as he's riding, it flaps around. So I told him he has to put it on my bag today so that he can see how ridiculous the fox is as he's riding down the road, because it is ludicrous how it flaps and flops about. Okay, we are on our last day. Thank heavens. We, 2 days ago, rode 300 miles from Haines Junction, Yukon Territory, Canada, to Tok, Alaska.
Okay, let's go, buddy! Boys, no, west! Go west, boys!
And that was a very long day. On the Canadian side, so we were on the Canadian side for like 200 miles-ish, a little more than that, and the entire way was alternating between pavement and gravel sections. Some of the gravel sections had active construction, but mostly they were just gravel sections that were marked. And we started to refer to those as jibby jabbies because that's how they felt. Some of them were a little more jib, some were a little more jab, but regardless, it was like we'd be cruising along and then all of a sudden we have to like downshift, 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 slow way down, stand up, get through the jibby jabs, and then off to the other side. So that made that take a little bit longer. That added a little intensity to it, but especially in the morning, like around Haines Junction, it was beautiful. So in the morning, it felt like we were riding through a picture, like through a painting. And then, the jibby jabs got a little bit annoying, but the Canadians had a special sign for them, and they were all really well marked. So we got through that safely, no big deal. But once more, just like thankful that we were more comfortable standing up and going through, not really terrain, but going through non-paved roads. And then, so we went through the Canadian border, no big deal, but it's super weird because you go through the Canadian border post and then it's like 30 kilometers before you get to the US border station, which feels very weird and kind of no man's landy. I've never been through a border that had that long of a section. So we took they gave us each at the border crossing at Pleasant Camp, they gave us each a little sheet saying like we could transit through Canada and we had to leave by the 7th. So then when we got to the Canadian border, we just went inside, handed them that sheet back in, and we're free to go. We didn't even have to have a conversation, no big deal. Then we got to the US side, and immediately you could feel the difference between the US and Canada, because Canada has been taking COVID very seriously, and everywhere was as many masks and as much distance and plexiglass as possible.
This man was arrested for putting regular gas into an unleaded tank.
And then we get to the US border customs guy. He wasn't even wearing a mask, just talking to us through the window. So immediately, pretty dramatic difference. He was dissatisfied with my driver's license. That was not adequate for him, even though that's what I needed to get into Canada. So I think when the governor spoke to whomever on the Canadian side to make sure that we had exemption to get into Canada.
Can I get a hallelujah?
I'm not sure that was also communicated to US Border Patrol, because he was like, that's not good enough. So luckily I had my mill ID, and that was adequate. He didn't care at all about my driver's license. He wanted to see my military ID to show that I had citizenship, and that was adequate to let me through. So all's well that ends well. We got through A-OK. We made it to Tok. We were totally pooped. And then yesterday we rode about 140 miles from Tok to Glen Allen, which is where we are at the moment. Quickly discovered that the US was not as committed to marking the jibby jabs as the Canadians were, but I think we must have also changed boroughs or something yesterday, because our ride started out with the jibby jabs just being like a surprise, and then all of a sudden they started to be marked with cones later on. So We discovered frost heaves in a variety of formations, the jibby jabs. We had some things that we call worm tunnels. There were regular potholes. We just met a variety of surprises on the road, but also like clearly construction had been done and we went over a lot of really new pavement. So we were also just like very thankful for that. And all in all, the road was great. We were cold and tired, and I think today's going to be a repeat of that. We're going to make our way from Glen Allen home to Eagle River, and I cannot wait to be off the bikes and just to sleep.
It's done. Yes, Mr. Frodo. It's over now.